Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to Power to Negotiate. Today's session is going to be about something that is very important, but most people overlook. It's consistency. And consistency is doing the same thing the same way over and over again. Mark Womack of NAA once said that amateurs practice so that they won't fail. Professionals practice 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning, folks, and welcome to Power to Negotiate. Today's session is going to be on consistency. And consistency is defined as doing the same thing in the same way again and again. Mark Womack of NAA once said that amateurs practice to win. Professionals practice until they cannot fail. And how do they do that? They do the same thing time and time again until they've done it so many times that there are no variables that they aren't prepared for. And I'm going to say, Reed, every person I talk to is different. Yes, let's talk about sellers for just a second. Every seller that you talk to has one thing in common. They want to sell their house. Every person that you talk to as a seller has another thing in common. They have a problem. If they don't have a problem, they don't need to sell. So we're looking to do one thing first. We want to find out what their motivation is. And remember, motivation is composed of 3 parts. What is their dreadful alternative? What is their pain? And what is their time crunch? If they don't have those 3 things, they're probably not motivated. So as we're talking to people, we want to do everything in the same way, time and time again. So that as you first start talking to them, you ask them a little bit about their situation. Let them say 3 things about the house. Wow, that sounds like a great house. Why in the world do you want to sell? Hopefully they will break a little bit and they will tell you exactly why they want to sell. Now another question I ask is, if you had to guess, what would you guess the house is worth? Once I know the address, I'm going to pretty well know what I think the house is worth just from getting online comps as I'm talking to them. Now, you're going to say, Reed, why do I ask them what they think the house is worth? They might not have a clue. And sometimes people say, well, I know it's worth $200,000, but I need to sell. I would take $150,000 right now. Always let them tell you what's going on. And finally, what I would suggest is you want to write down a script. And you want to stick with that script where you're asking questions. And to say, Reed, what happens if the other person doesn't have a copy of your script? Well, guess what? They will answer your questions. They're trying to sell you something. And so you might start out with, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? And then you start asking them questions. Hi, my name is Reed. I'm a real estate investor. I buy houses. Is now a good time to talk? If they say yes, great. Can you tell me a little bit about the house? Let them say 3 things. Wow, that sounds like a great house. Why in the world do you want to sell? You mentioned that you have this problem, this problem, this problem. Have you really thought about what you really need out of this? If you got an all-cash offer that closed quickly, what would be the lowest price you could possibly take? And I want them to start knocking off their asking price first and coming down a little bit. And then I follow that up with, is that the best price? Really? With pain and a grimace. Knock them down a few $1,000s more. And then ask if you can come out and see the property. And once you have the address, do your due diligence. Go online, find out what the property is worth, and when you go out to look at the property, what I always do is I'll drive around and see if there's any houses in the neighborhood that are for sale, call them up and ask them 5 how questions: how old, how big, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how much, and find out what other houses in the area are asking, and that will give you a pretty good indication what your house that you're looking at might be worth. When I go in to look at the property and make sure that both parties are there, if they're husband and wife, make sure that both the husband and wife are there. If they're not there, reschedule. If one of them is waiting a few minutes, chit-chat with them. Do not get into substantive discussions on the property until you're actually talking with them. And then go through the property, look at everything that's there, and then ask them, I'm going to do my due diligence. Don't know if I can, but if I can make an all-cash offer close quickly, what's the lowest price you can take? Have them give you their best number. Go back, do some more due diligence, call them into your office and say, I've got a great deal. The market's telling me I can't pay whatever the lowest price was. Should I still present you with the offer? Great, come into the office. The reason I do that is what they've just done when I told them I can't make their price. Should I still make the offer? They've just agreed to take a lower price. When they come into the office, present them with your offer. You're going to say, Reed, that seems very simplistic. I'm always asking for a discount. Why do I always do that? Wouldn't it be easier to just accept whatever price you're asking? Yes, but in negotiating is where you're going to make your money. And if you can do this consistently and do this repeatedly, you're going to make a great amount of money in your career. How do you stay consistent at this? One of the best ways is practice. Practice with a friend, practice with your spouse, practice with neighbors, and say, hey, can I go ahead and go over this with you? I want you to pretend that you're selling a house. Let me ask you a few questions. Do this 5 or 10 times, and you're going to forget all of your fear about asking people these questions. Now you're just trying to remember them. And after you do this enough times, you're not going to have to worry about remembering them. You'll just do them as a matter of course, and you'll become consistent. And in consistency lies the true chance for perfection.